When a call came in to the High Springs Police Department about a suspicious person on North Maine Street, Officer Martha Hines had no idea that she would soon be fighting for her life. Editor and publisher of the North Florida Herald, Ronald DuPont Jr., sat down with Hines to recount what happened that night.
I got to back up and give God some credit for some things.
Okay.
Because first of all, I wouldn't put the uniform on and the badge without God in my life. And I thought, we have a guy in town, a black guy that knocks on doors, and this was reported as a black male up in a lady's garage knocking on her back door. So when we have this guy that does that, and the thought that came to mind, and it just came through my mind, Willie, why don't you go leave folks alone? And you know how your mom would grab you when you were young, when you weren't listening, and they kind of jostle you a little bit and say, listen to me? It came to me, that's not what you're going to.
Really?
And I thought, ooh. And so I immediately say, Lord, please help me. And he did.
Before coming to the police department, Hines worked as a bookkeeper, but her drive to challenge herself led her to join the force as a dispatcher in 1995, working in the same building she had attended elementary school in. By 1997, she had become an officer, but had never been in a situation as life-altering before. Hines pulled up to the home at North Maine Street alone at 9 p.m.
But I got out of the car and I couldn't see him at the back door, so I pulled the car up, and my usual routine is to pull on scene, turn my car off, get out of the car and secure it.
Right.
He was coming, when I did see him, he was about halfway the garage and was coming at me at a pretty rapid speed, so I never even got my car shut off.
Wow.
I got out of the car and stood outside the car, and
Okay.
as he was approaching me, and he said, I must have alarmed that lady in there, knocking on her door, and he said, I was supposed to meet a guy here by the name of Matt. And I said, Matt who? And he said, Matt Shepard. That really didn't mean anything to me, that name. And I
Right.
said, well, what is your name? And he said, Fred Perdue. And I said, do you have any ID on you? And he says, it's in the car, and started walking toward his car immediately.
Right.
I said, don't go back to your car. And I ordered him to go to the back of his vehicle, and put his hands, proned him out on the trunk of his car. And I unsnapped my handcuff case, made
Right.
one step toward him. He bounced off the back of that vehicle and
Went at you.
called me a bitch and hit me right there the first time. And I think that he had those cuffs in his hand. I don't know, I never saw the cuffs. But I think
What's
he
that guy
had
doing walking around with handcuffs?
Well, he's very evil. He's what is classified, I've had people classify him as a predator and counseling me and telling me that's not the average person.
No,
you
it's
know?
not.
And so, but yeah, he had his own handcuffs. And so it was Johnny get your gun then. He knocked me to the ground, almost knocked me out, but wasn't able to.
I was wondering if it hit you that
Oh,
hard,
my God.
possibly with a piece of metal.
I really believe that I never saw him, so I can't swear that he had them in his hand, but he lost them at that scene. So I'm thinking all the licks that he gave me, he had that in his hands, and he was kicking me repeatedly. And the first thing I did once I got down is I went for the radio, and somehow or another he knew exactly how you have to get the radio off, and he twisted it upside down, pulled it off from me, and threw it off in the yard.
After Perdue fled the scene, Hines recovered her radio and called dispatch for help.
I have been beat. Subject has left in that car with a stolen tag. Can you get rescued to me, please?
You need backup up there?
I've already been beat and he's gone.
Osprey 4.0 around.
When police later caught 19-year-old Fred Perdue, he told police that he had planned to kill the woman inside the home with a 12-gauge shotgun. Without realizing it, Hines had saved lives.
Yeah, and it happened the way it was supposed to happen. Without a doubt, God was tired of him.
It'll take weeks before Hines can resume her normal duties, but until then, she's grateful that God has given her extra time to attend church. I'm Lindsay Smith, and this has been a production of the North Florida Herald.